Hey everyone, my name's Walter, and I'm back here with more crap I found on Reddit. Today we're back here to cover something I don't talk about that often anymore, neckbeards. Neckbeards are those fine gentlemen who cultivate facial hair on their necks. They usually have nerdy interests and generally don't have the best hygiene. I don't think the author today actually meets the guy though, so they can also just be annoying over the internet. You'll see, so let's just begin with neckbeards from Reddit. The story comes to us from Reddit Neckbeard Stories, a subreddit for sharing your experiences with beardos. I was online friends with a neckbeard for 3 months, regrettably. Even after realizing he was horrible 2 weeks in, I made this account honestly just to share this story. I didn't even fully realize he falls under the neckbeard category until I lurked this subreddit by listening to countless readings on YouTube. He is very much a nice guy as well, so I'd put him there as well, if he didn't actually have a neckbeard and scare me. Dare I say a crossbreed. If you're wondering how someone could be a neckbeard without even being physically present, as I was, then I am happy to show you an example. Abbreviations. BF equals my on-off boyfriend, with whom I had a messy 6-month break. LB, for the sake of comedic relief, we'll call the neckbeard Lonely Beard, because the pity is what made me stay friends with him. Quick trigger warning for this bracket. For mentions of domestic violence and abusive families. Please take note at this part already that I was in a severely abusive relationship for 2 years of my life, which left me constantly nervous and easily panicked with a desire for approval. I also grew up in an abusive household with a narcissistic father who was the worst kind of manipulator. Don't worry, I don't talk to him at all anymore. Most of my family was manipulative, in an attempt to weaponize me, the youngling, against each other in custody battles. Coincidentally with bullying in my early school years, which all in all left me depressed with very low self-worth, I was extremely easy to convince and very naive. Guilt-tripping, gaslighting, and victimizing yourself were the tactics which were most effective on me, mostly because I was already most used to them. Perfect terms for a neckbeard. I had to share this so you can understand why I talked to and didn't block Lonely Beard for 3 entire months. I was taught and grew up being extremely passive. Intro finally over. Yeah, with some of the authors we've seen, it's going to be pretty hard to top the list of being passive, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Anyways, beginning the story, I was 17 at the time and was broken up with my boyfriend at the beginning of the year. I started talking to Lonely Beard in about summer, so about 4 months after the separation. About 2 months before boyfriend and I got back together, and about 1 month before boyfriend and I started talking and meeting up regularly again. I promise, the timing is important. During that time in which I was single, I downloaded a friend-finding kind of app. I had only recently moved, so I had no friends in my hometown. I saw Lonely Beard's profile in my requests, and honestly, he seemed nice from just that. Yes, his biography was rather short. It was also about anime, memes, and where he lived, about 30 minutes from me. The profile pictures were about 3 pictures, I think, 1 of him and 2 of anime. Lonely Beard was 18, close to 19 at the time, had blonde dyed messy hair, glasses, was very chubby, and yes, the neckbeard. I never had to smell him though, so I can't comment on that. The anime pictures were of Tokyo Ghoul and Death Note, 2 anime that I also really enjoyed, and seeing that he lived close, I accepted his friend request. We started talking and it was okay. Crazy, right? Yeah, the first week of texting he seemed pretty nice. He rarely used full sentences, and if he did, the grammar was very lazy, but I tried to look past that. He talked a lot about how lonely he was and how happy he was that I, as a pretty girl, accepted his request. We also talked about anime in school. But often enough, the topic slowly migrated to him wanting to have a girlfriend and being depressed. After that first week, he wanted my number. Because I was scared of being rude by saying no, I gave it to him reluctantly, despite him already following me on Instagram due to the link in my profile. I haven't been a teenager in a long time, but I'm still human, kind of. You don't go on about your depression and relationship woes within the first week that you're talking to someone. Have some goddamn restraint. He's probably just testing the waters to see what she'll put up with, though. This is where it goes downhill. He texted me every day and got mad when I didn't reply. Note here as well that texting back is a weakness of mine anyway. It wasn't even personal in this regard, and I told him that. Surprise, he ignored that. He decided that he deserves better treatment than even my best friends. Lonely Beard also randomly sent me selfies, hinting that he wanted me to compliment him, which overlooked and changed topic too. Although he never openly got angry at me or cursed me out, he let me know he was mad by talking about how lonely he was, how happy he was that he finally found me, that he was super scared of me leaving him like all of his other friends did, disappointed in me for acting selfish with lots of sad faces, and how people, specifically girls, treated him, that by the way, made him very suicidal, And by ignoring him, I did exactly that. So I made my best effort to answer, mostly at night, hoping he would be asleep already, or at least he would think I fell asleep after replying and didn't whine. Barely 3 weeks in, mind you. Yes, already progressing on to implied suicide threats, week 3 of talking to her. It's a wonder this guy can't keep any friends, isn't it? This wasn't even the worst. Oh god, no. The worst part is that he didn't care to type. The friend app we met on didn't have a voice message tool, but everywhere else he texted me on did. He would send almost only voice messages. I am someone who already dislikes voice messages by themselves, but oh my god, he could not speak. His speech was very, very, very slurred. Ridiculously slurred. He wouldn't stammer or just talk fast. I think he just refused to move his mouth. It was useless to ask what he meant, because he would just send another voice message. So often I'd just pretend that I understood him and send laughing emojis. Over time, I became his object of affection. Translation, victim of harassment. I don't know how he did it, but every time I was online anywhere, Lonelybeard would text or DM me. He even had notifications on for my Instagram stories, just so he could guilt trip me for not answering his messages when I was on my phone. This was before Instagram had the hide story tool. Worst was what he said when he texted me. Lonelybeard was lonely and very creepy. He begged, and I mean begged a lot, to meet me IRL, because again, he was so lonely. My creep radar and self-preservation instinct were stronger than my fear of rejecting someone and being rude, so luckily I rejected him. With the excuse that I haven't talked to him long enough to safely meet him. Obviously he was offended and talked about how safe it is to be around him and how well he treats girls. Every time he begged, I gave him the same reason, even though it was utter bullshit considering I met another guy just 2 weeks after talking. Because that one didn't give me any creeps and suggested a public spot to meet. Every time I used that excuse, he got more impatient and demanding, calling bullshit because it's already been a month. I told him it's just me being careful on the internet. After 1.5 months, he started ridiculing me for it. He also regularly threatened, and I'll say threatened because it scared me, to pick me up from school. He saw pictures of it on my Instagram, so I feared he was smart enough to figure out the exact location. Not needed, though. And go home with me as well. Annoyed when I sometimes lied that my mom was home. Yeah, meeting up for the first time is really something you don't want to be pushy about. People are already looking for red flags so they can avoid meeting someone like Lucas. If this guy is this obsessed already, just imagine how badly he'll go off the rails after meeting in person. At one point, when I used to have this project with my sister, often I'd have to walk home at 1 or 2 a.m. in this very quiet and very dark neighborhood. I am terrified of the dark, so I posted on Instagram stories, asking for a friend to call. Lonelybeard replied within literally 5 seconds, every time at that, until I decided it'd be more pleasant to just stay scared. I wondered why he was even awake. Obviously I couldn't ignore him now because I just posted it and was actively waiting for someone to reply. I accepted his call, and god, it was so much slurred speech I had to ask him to repeat every second sentence. The other half I just accepted as words lost in translation. We talked about school and what his daily routine was. The way home wasn't long, and originally when I said I wanted someone to call for the way, I meant the way only. But when I was home and hinted multiple times that I was tired and had school tomorrow, he wholeheartedly ignored that. He just kept on talking for another 2 hours about anime, again how lonely he was, his depression, before I was getting more tired than anxious and told him I'll hang up and go to sleep now because, again, I had school tomorrow. That was obviously met with Lonelybeard trying to guilt trip me and whining about how happy he was when he could call me because he didn't have any other friends that wanted to talk to him. Wonder why. But again, I was too tired to care at this point and just said, "Sorry man, good night though," and hung up, slightly pissed off that he kept me awake for this long and was selfish enough to prioritize himself over my school night's sleep to me. And now to one of the worst things I can recall him texting me. After a couple of days of being as inactive as possible, and to context, we were talking about again, me not wanting to meet him, but also me not drinking alcohol. Note, where I live, drinking is legal after 16, which he actually praised me for, telling me it was nice to see a pretty and innocent girl for once. I don't remember the exact text apart from the context above, but he told me that he wants to meet up alone at my house and force me to get blackout drunk. He said that that'd seem fun, and that he would like to be the first person that I would be wasted around. It might seem hard to imagine, but I was terrified. I was so freaked out because I'd definitely not put doing scary things past him. I genuinely started panicking and called boyfriend, who I started talking to again to explain the situation as well as send him everything Lonelybeard has sent me. And to his credit, boyfriend immediately recognized what an asshole Lonelybeard is and told me to block. I didn't because I was scared of being mean. Horrible mistake. I continued trying to avoid him as I could, even more now. Then Lonelybeard saw boyfriend on my story. He recognized him from the friend app that boyfriend also had at the time. Lonelybeard and I once talked about boyfriend. Not much. Just that we were already in a relationship before, and we were talking. Lonelybeard did not approve. That's it for part 1. I'll make the other one soon, which will be the finale and how I finally blocked him since we're 2 months in now. It'll be very, very messy, so it'd be smarter to put it into a separate post. Also, please note that if I met this guy today, he'd be blocked the moment he started whining about how no girl goes after the nice guy. Which would be notably quick. Excuse any grammar mistakes and inconsistencies, as English is not my native language. Okay, so obviously you don't want to take any kind of mind-altering substance around people you don't trust. So a teenage girl getting blackout drunk for the first time around someone she's never met before who's been creeping her out even over the internet? That's a pretty bad scenario. Now, I hate to disappoint you, but I don't think there is a part 2. Let me know if you can find one, but I couldn't. So we'll just cover a few posts and call it a day. I am glad to hear the author has decided to tell off neckbeards like this, cause that guy going on about anime for 2 hours is my idea of hell. Posts are from Reddit just neckbeard things. Adult male virginity should be classified as a sexual disability. The law itself will define that a man who is unable to find a suitable sexual partner or is lacking sexual relationships in which he would still be a virgin after the age of 25 would be classified as a sexually disabled person. The fact that a male could live on for more than 2 decades and 5 years without any kind of sexual encounter/contact means that something is inherently wrong with him, physically or psychologically, and he needs assistance to change his predicament in however manner it may be. Most people tend to believe that even after 25 there is a chance that you may lose your virginity. Yes, there is a chance, but a very, very slim one to be exact, and the odds are always against it, so it should not be encountered for in any way. Also, before anyone says that one could use prostitution to lose his virginity, I would like to state, prostitution is a way of letting femoids win. Because you're not only paying them, but also validating them as well. Man, these prostitutes do not get a whole lot of validation out of this, I'd imagine. It really doesn't sound too glamorous to me. So, losing your virginity to whores definitely doesn't work, and the men who have lost their virginity to whores still should be classified as sexually disabled, because without prostitution, there is no way for them to lose their virginity. So, if you're a sexually disabled man, this law would not only provide you with certain protection laws, but the government would cover up important things like plastic surgery, for an example, which is very vital for men who are suffering because of their unattractive looks and can do nothing about it because they cannot afford to do so. It blows my mind when someone perfectly healthy wants to be seen as disabled. Is there a wave of anti-incel violence or something? I have no idea what protections he's talking about that they need. Oh, because I used the pronoun he? The word viewer is of the male gender in this native language of mine. I do apologize if my projection of my tongue's way with words onto English hurt the feelings of thine. However, I meant no insult to any member of the fair gender. I do respect females, even though they shun me. I hope I have not offended thee. I believed such wording was also plausible in thy tongue. Okay, I get the language barrier, but I have no idea how that results in him speaking Old English. I guess we'll just call it chivalry. One more. I have a dream that meme lords will one day be respected by women as much as burger flippers. Wordology. Ah yes, the elusive 42-year-old meme lord. I have nothing against fast food employees, of course, but it's so weird to see Lucas just wishing he got the amount of respect that a minimum wage worker gets. I should also mention that him saying he has a dream probably had something to do with Martin Luther King Day being 3 days earlier. It's not the first time he's hijacked the beginning of that speech, but the last time was a bit more racist. Anyway, it's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about the neckbeards, I sure hope you let me hear it in the comments. They're good for the algorithm. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same. I might look for more neckbeard stories that people want. I find most of them to be pretty bad, but there's bound to be some that are alright. Also, big thanks to my generous patrons who support me more directly over on Patreon. That really helps out as well. I will be shouting them out soon here. Have a great day, everyone, and don't feel obligated to respond to messages from neckbeards. Or anyone with an anime profile picture, really.